speaking of 4-0, we've got Jacobi Jones taking on Daniel James Allen. And this fight doesn't seem to be as easy as the records indicate on paper to me. Jacobi Jones, definitely a good fighter, dangerous, really powerful. That last fight, he looked like a murderer, right? Just like nasty elbows, great power, does a good job of getting after his opponents. But you look at the losses, he's been submitted a couple times. You look at the fights where he's had some adversity to deal with, he's been out wrestled, a few times. He's been taken down. What was that kid's name? I'm drawing a blank on his name. I
Logan
got to pull it up.
Paxton. Logan Paxton.
Not even him. Not even
Christian
him. There's
Turner.
another one. Yes, Christian Turner. Thank you, brother. The Christian Turner fight, Turner was taking him down multiple times, putting him in really bad situations. I feel like that's kind of concerning, for a guy that has a wrestling background and is supposed to be really good in those situations. He kind of just makes some I would even give him a pass on the Worms armbar. I mean, that was beautiful, and the guy missed weight too. So, kind of just a little bit of nothing you could do. But he was pissed, and he had said, like, I prepared to not get armbarred here because I got armbarred in my amateur days, and then he got armbarred. That could be a little bit damaging to the confidence. And the one thing that just stood out is I always look for like parallels in terms of archetype of opponent. And I feel like this guy, Daniel James Allen, reminds me of Christian Turner just a little bit in some of the wrestling positions he was getting to, in some of the ways he was trying to control from on top. And I'm just like, like this guy's got freaking USA Wrestling tattooed on his chest. Seems like he can compete in those wrestling positions. So he's got the 4-0 record. He's fought absolutely nobody. But I'm also like, I don't want to count this guy out because it just seems like he's got a pretty decent amount of physicality himself. Another guy where if he's not getting the takedowns, I don't really like this fight for him at all. I feel like he's going to get knocked out in completely brutal fashion. So what do you think about this one, Pierce?
So I'm assuming you haven't looked yet. If you haven't looked at the odds, what do you think this fight should be lined at?
I have looked at the odds now,
Damn, I
unfortunately.
was hoping you
I
didn't, man.
biased myself. Yeah, what's up?
No, so I actually did. I have a prop on this fight, but it got fucking steamed really hard. I played the KO at the opener. I thought that was a good line, but now just don't play it. I just figured I'd mention that. I don't know why I'm doing that, but the thing with Allen is he is a good wrestler in his own right. He was a JUCO All-American, but I mean Jacobi Jones, he's got the wrestling background as well. I think he was a three-time All-American at Colorado, University of Colorado State Pueblo. So I think that's a D2 program. But both these guys are good wrestlers, and when I did the tape originally, when I first started it, I'm like, okay, Jacobi Jones is probably being set up as the A side here. He's got the Factory X Muay Thai connection. He's got a good gym. You see, he's making improvements, and a lot of people were counting him out his last fight against this Lebosayani dude, who's Brian Ortega's little prodigy child. So he looked great in that fight, man. His hands look better. His ability to stay safe from submissions looked good, but we like you mentioned, his he gets taken down a little bit too much than you would like. I mean, you look at the Logan Paxton fight. Paxton, it says 1-0 on his record. I'm not sure what he is right now. He's 2-1, but he was a wrestler at North Dakota State, I believe, or South Dakota State. So he's got college wrestling experience as well. Christian Turner, while his record might not be the best, he's a good fighter. Yeah, he's Cody Durden's boy, so he's in that wrestling room with Cody Durden. But I don't know. It's a weird fight because when you look at the odds, you're like, okay, I understand why Jones is the favorite. He's got more hardware, and Daniel James Allen, he hasn't been as active as you would like him to. He's fighting low level guys at UWC, which is not the best promotion at all, and he hasn't fought that often. I think he's only fought once in the past like 3 or 4 years. It's not a good sign, but I don't know. When you look at the odds, I can't help but think it's an automatic dog or pass, just solely on the fact that Allen, I don't know if you mentioned, he's at AKA, American Kickboxing Academy. He's with Usman Nurmagomedov, Khabib, all the Russians. He's been there for like 5 or 6 years now. So I like his wrestling. You see it in his fights. He gets the takedowns. He's really good at staying on top, albeit against low-level opponents. But I wish I've seen him tested. I haven't seen him on bottom. I haven't seen him really take any strikes on the feet. So that's why I played the KO, because we never seen this guy take a punch. I don't know if he can. But if Allen's getting takedowns here, man, I think he's definitely the side. And when you look at the odds, it's plus 262 right now. I don't know what I'm going to do with this fight. Maybe wait, see if it gets bigger. But I'm probably going to have a small play on Allen. I feel just because there's a lot of unknowns here. And we've seen Jones taken down. And that's Allen's MO, is the wrestling. And I like his gym, man. Maybe he's making improvements and we just haven't seen it yet. Cause did y'all see the fight where he where he knocked that 0-0 dude out cold? That was some sad shit. I don't know who made that fight, but dude's got pop on the feet too, man. That was a crazy knock.
That's exactly what I was gonna say, dude. Yeah, he did. It's not that we don't know if he can take a shot. We don't know exactly how well he could give a shot, but from what we have seen, looks like he's got pretty good hand speed, good combinations. He can put a if you give him a can, he'll crush it. That's for sure. So, fair play to him there, Gordo. What do you got, brother?
Yeah, I agree with that statement, but the problem is I don't think Jacoby Jones is a can. But I'm with you, man. I was, of course, I'm stalking Big Bird's his bet MMA tips, and I was surprised to see a bet on Allen after you said all those things, because I will have a bet on Allen here, man. I don't get it. I think what we have here is a relative unknown, right? We have this long layoff, we have this questions in the striking and the cardio and the resiliency for Allen, but these questions that could all be positives and stuff that could relate to a decent ability to take an underdog shot here. Yes, Jacoby Jones is the more known commodity. He's been more active. He has shown better, let's say, fights at this higher level, and he has the ability to compete in there, facing some decent level of competition and doing well at a decent camp himself. But although he's coming in here as the potential A side, the line is blown out of proportion, and there's no other way for me to put it. Is I don't really understand fully why the line is where it is, and I'm all for favoring Jacoby Jones slightly here because he is the more proven guy. I do think we can trust his striking, and it's not like his defensive grappling or even offensive wrestling is bad at any point. But to this indication, to make him north of 70-75% here is really crazy to me, considering how much positive we've seen offensively from Daniel Allen here. And of course, this could be against level of competition, but against anybody. He's going out there and he's shooting a takedown in the first 10-15 seconds. He's shooting takedowns incredibly early on and having success doing so. And then he has the ability to go out there and do that in later rounds as well. And I think putting on that pressure, making Jacoby Jones be pushed up against the cage, just wrestle out there, I'm going to take a shot on the dog because I do think that there are positives that come out of it. Now, with all these question marks, yeah, there could be negatives, right? Like the guy could go out there and fold under pressure. He could get one takedown stuffed, and then that could be him done. But until I see that firsthand, I'm willing to take a shot on what I believe to be a fighter with a better chance in the line entails. I'm going to take a half unit shot on the dog for sure. I'm just waiting for that line to keep climbing.
I do not blame you at all here, my man. I'll say this: Jacoby Jones, super impressive physical specimen, great knockout power, good potential, right? I don't think there's anything wrong with him, but let's contextualize the resume a little bit. Christian Turner, really young guy, Lebosun Yanni or whatever, pretty inexperienced guy, all things considered, a little bit of an unknown, maybe a little bit more hype than substance based on that fight, but we'll give him a chance. He could obviously come back and have a great career, so we'll say that. Riley Weissman, that guy just was so physically outclassed. It was unbelievable. You look at the fight from the second it started and you're like, oh, it's exactly clear who's going to win this fight. The Austin Worms fight, Austin Worms doesn't look like he has much to offer him physically. He's getting beat up a little bit on the feet. Why engage on the mat? A little bit foolhardy of a decision, cost him the fight. So he does like to operate on the ground. He does like to prove he's the better wrestler. Sometimes that ego battle in the mind can, be the devil that does you in. It could be embarrassing when you're a wrestler and somebody goes out there and takes you down, puts you on your butt, and you might start wrestling when you don't need to. You might stop going for the big knockout that you could get when you now want to get this takedown back. And that's the one thing that also concerns me here, because I've seen that a little bit with Jacoby. I felt like the Christian Turner fight kind of came in and he wanted to figure out who's a better wrestler. And in the end, the other guy just broke a little bit on cardio because he was being pushed in ways that he probably hadn't ever been before. And after he had some success on the feet and he probably got excited, he kind of got his dreams crushed and the guy was getting back on top of him and he just wanted a way out of that fight. So when I look at this fight, I feel like Daniel James Allen, huge opportunity here, virtual unknown, coming in with a big plus money tag. And again, we're going to be looking for a parlay buster on this card, right? To lead to Allen card, you can make a case for why, the UFC would love to have her at this point. Because here's the other thing. Rondina, if she loses, no skin off their nose. They could easily rebuild her, bring her back next year. She gets signed just like a lot of girls, just like what's her name? Polastri, just like how many other girls that you bring them in. They're a little young. They're a little fresh. Okay, no problem. We brought you in against somebody good, but we saw some potential in you. Let's do it again. That easily could happen. Whereas this other girl, it's like right now. For these two guys, I feel like this is anybody's ball game. So yeah, man, I think Jacobi Jones definitely should be favored here, but I would not put this at anything over 2-1 based on his style. He gets into a lot of volatile exchanges. There's a couple times I thought against Lebassioni that he got rocked, but he just did such a better job of landing the damaging shots, coming forward, keeping the pressure on, that the other guy was just wanting a way out of that fight, I felt like, in the first round. So what would happen if somebody can resist him into that second round, into that third round? I think that's going to be an interesting question. And I think Daniel James Allen could pose some of those questions. So let's find out. I'm leaning towards the dog here as well. Please go
I'll
ahead.
add one more thing from a market perspective, because I remember I had a small bet on him his last fight against Jean Paul. The market doesn't even know what type of fighter Jacobi was. He was like plus 180. I remember he might have closed damn near plus 200 in that fight. And now he's minus 300 against a guy that we just don't know much about, man. So it's like, from a market perspective, the value to bet Jacobi was his last fight in LFA. It's not right now. I feel like this is a good fight where it's going to answer a lot of questions, and it's dog or pass at these odds, man. I think Jacobi's going to win. He probably has a bright future if he makes it to the UFC, but we just don't know enough about Allen to be putting minus 300 in our parlays.
Yeah, and people can be saying things about the record of these guys that he was fighting and all that stuff. I agree with you guys. He hasn't been fighting anybody good, but he's been getting some experience. And here's the other thing. Austin Worms is a 5-5 fighter. Let's just call a spade a spade. Like, you're getting submitted by 500 guys on the regional scene. So I know the guy missed weight. I know it was an emotional fight and all this stuff. That wasn't that long ago. So to say that, like, he's just got this lights out game, that there's nothing that could go wrong here, I don't really see that with his game. I feel like there's definitely a lot of volatility in the way that he fights. Another lightweight fight here that I think is ending inside the distance, personally. But the one thing is, Allen maybe stretches it out. I just feel like he's probably going to be looking for advantageous positions. And Jacoby's a guy that fights like balls out 100%. Like, he's not a guy who's looking to fight for many decisions, brother. He's looking to fight for finishes, and you saw that in the last fight. You heard Gilbert Melendez on commentary. He's like, they're not going to need 3. You know, he could tell early on, and I think that was the right read. Speaking of guys that may not need 3, we got the heavyweights, boys. We got the swangers, the bangers, the 265-pound laddies about to get in there for this main event. So we will break it down for you guys. But what I want to ask as we do, please just drop a like on this video if you've enjoyed what we're doing so far. If you have questions, comments, or concerns, go ahead and fire those off in the comment section below the video. And make sure you get subscribed to the channel for a lot of fight talk, especially about this Dana White Contender Series coming up in the near future. So, boys,